think a lot of people surprised that Dak Prescott not only played, but played basically the whole game until you see how well he did and how much that really helped this team in this offense moving forward. How dangerous are the Cowboys now entering the playoffs?
Well, number one, going into that game, no Ezekiel Elliott, no Zach Martin on the offensive line. They wanted to rest their players. But Dak Prescott is not a player that can sit back and rest. He needs experience. He needs reps. And the one thing that this game did up against the New York Giants, it gave them playoff experience moments. Think about the two-point conversion at the end of the game. Yeah. That's something that you want to practice and prepare for when you're going into the playoffs. And for them to be able to overcome this game in the fourth quarter without all of their starters on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, it builds a lot of confidence for them. But the one thing that this offense goes through Ezekiel Elliott to open up things for Amari Cooper downfield. But for Dak Prescott as a quarterback, to take the most sacks in the NFL as a mobile quarterback, that's something that in the playoffs, he's going to have to use those legs to force defenses to play 11-on-11 football to open up seams, to open up things on the backside, because that's when he plays his best. He has to get over the stigma. I'm not a just running quarterback. I've got to throw it and have that cliche in his back pocket, because his thing is when you get play action going, when he gets outside of the pocket and he can use those legs to his advantage to change the launch point, he makes everybody better on that offense. And that's the intangible that everybody wants to see out of Scott Linehan. It's not just Scott Linehan, it's Dak Prescott as a quarterback.
To me, this was as meaningful of a meaningless game as I can remember. The Cowboys couldn't improve their seeding. They couldn't hurt their seeding. There was nothing as far as in the black and white standings to gain. But my God, did they gain a lot from this game.
Yes.
To win a game like this, Dak, who's most of his career has had 3 All-Pro offensive linemen. This year's had 2 All-Pro offensive linemen. He had 0 in this game. Travis Frederick's been gone all year. Zach Martin, Tyron Smith don't play. All career except for 6 games last year, he's had an All-Pro running back. Doesn't have him either. All year, he's had an excellent defense. That defense, not so excellent yesterday, all of a sudden. And to come back the way they did, they were up 14-0. They squander that lead against the Giants. And to come back the way they did, 4th and 15, a touchdown strike to Cole Beasley. Dak throws for, 387? The second most yards. It's the first 4 touchdown game of his career. It's the second most passing yards of any game in his career. And it was all him. Like, the one reason the Cowboys, I have not taken them seriously as a championship contender all year, is number 4. Is because I don't trust their passing game. And in Week 17, even if it's mostly a mirage, they have something to build upon now. I do believe in momentum going into the playoffs. I do believe a team can all of a sudden capture something. Like, you don't think the Seahawks now in the game plan, they're like, Jesus, we got Blake Jarwin? Like, we got to worry about Blake Jarwin now? And so there are little things they gained by not only winning the game, but winning it without their 3 best players on offense.
Right.
Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Zeke didn't play. They scored 36 points.
Yep.
They were playing the junior varsity, though. Let's be honest. It was really no threat against the Giants. They don't really have a pass rush, so you knew he was going to have time to improvise and do those off-schedule plays. I think it was good for him to get some confidence, get some work in, some situational football. But they were going against a juggernaut. And this is a bad matchup because what I love about the Dallas Cowboys is that they can out-physical you, right? Because they can run the ball with Zeke downhill. They can limit your possessions, time of possession, and also then that allows you to make the shots. You look at how the offense is performing since Amari Cooper's come. They're up 40 yards. The third down percentage is up because now the linebackers have to come up, and now
pass
you have
yards are up 70.
Yes.
Right, so now you can make plays downfield. You can have the explosives. That was the problem before, right? Cole Beasley is pretty much a possession receiver. He's a guy that can move the chains. But now they're going against, arguably, one of the toughest teams in the game. You talk about their whole philosophy. It doesn't matter that they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They have a fast, physical offense on both sides of the ball. And Russell Wilson is a better version of Dak Prescott. He's who Dak Prescott aspires to be. And this is just a bad matchup. This has one and done for me written all over.
There are a number of things that you, Nick, were looking at with this Cowboys team that said you would feel better about Dak Prescott in the offense, and one of them was red zone efficiency. Yesterday, they were converting 3 of 4.
Right. They once again, they start the game off poorly in that regard, and then they, just like the week before, they were good on the following possessions. You mentioned the sacks.
Yes.
Dak and Deshaun Watson are the 2 most sacked quarterbacks in football. With Deshaun, it makes sense. They have a terrible offensive line, and he is asked to do everything. With Dak, it shouldn't be the case. So they have to get better there. But the reason that I'm not saying they're going to beat Seattle. Seattle, you mentioned Russell Wilson's better than a better version of Dak. They actually even run the ball better in Seattle than they do in Dallas, even though they don't have a guy like Zeke. But to win a game where you rush the ball 22 times for 51 yards, win a game when your defense gives up 35 points, it was a gamble by Jason Garrett, not only to play Dak, but to leave him in the whole game. There were multiple times throughout the game where you could have taken him out, said, hey, great job, you got us a lead, you put us in position. He left him in there to where the Cowboys could be going into the playoffs feeling terribly. We blew this lead. The Giants, who are our JV team, like you put it, beat us in a game where we were playing our guys.
Or worse, injuries.
Right, or injuries. Right. And it looked like Leighton Vander Esch got dinged, but I think he's okay. Like the Cowboys took a big gamble this weekend, in my eyes, David, and I think it paid off tremendously.
I think it did as well, because if you look at 2007 when we played the Patriots at the end of the year, people told us that we should rest that game. But the one thing that it did is, even though we lost the game, it built confidence for us because, hey, if we left a couple plays on the field up against an undefeated Patriots team, we know that we're capable of beating teams that aren't as good as the Patriots. And that's something for the Dallas Cowboys that they did yesterday, to overcome that game in the fourth quarter, to do it with a game-tying drive, and then to seal it with a 2-point conversion. What more could you ask for to end the season on a high note with momentum going into playoffs, knowing that you have a Seattle team like this that runs the ball over 50%, that Russell Wilson feels secure now in that pocket to get the football downfield, something he did in the beginning of the season, to do that at home up against this team that you know you're going to have to control the time of possession.
So the Dallas offense feels good, but the Dallas defense has to feel terrible.
Without a doubt.
Who you got next week?
Well, next week I will pick the Seattle Seahawks. I will say this, even though they have Jalen Smith and Vander Esch on that side of the ball, I just think that the Seattle Seahawks, the way that they've turned around this season, the way that Pete Carroll gets them ready for game-time games and the experience in the scenarios, that's a lesson of building from adversity. When nobody believed in you as a football team, all you need to do is get in the dance now. It's not about your record before the season. It's about how you capitalize on it now, and I think the Seahawks will.
David, we've been talking about this all season. This is not the same Tom Brady. It's certainly not the same Gronk. It's not the same offense. There's no more Josh Gordon, and yet here they are in very familiar territory. Do you think this team can make it all the way back to the Super Bowl?
The only thing that is the same is getting no information out of these interviews out of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. That's the only thing that's the same. I think when you look at this football team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, Gronk is not creating those one-on-one matchups that you think that he is going to open up for everybody else on the outside. And that's where it's really hampered, not having Josh Gordon on this team. They're going to have to find ways to get Chris Hogan and Philip Dorsett involved in this offense to open up things in the short and intermediate game for Julian Edelman and to stick with this ground-and-pound running game that they've been having. But for me, the big issue is it's their defense. When you look at their defensive side of the ball, there's nobody, number one, that scares you. There's nobody on an offensive side and offensive line where you're like, okay, we need to slide protections to this guy. We need to chip over there. That helps you offensively so much game planning for them because you don't have to worry about that. And when you think about the departure of Matt Patricia, this used to be a bend but don't break defense. They break now. And when you have an offense that can spread them out, make them either decide to go with a big nickel or a linebacker, that's where you can create those one-on-one matchups for your running back out of the backfield. But once again, widen out that defense and run right down the middle of them.
Listen, I see Gronk running in quicksand.
Yep.
I see Hogan is a guy that's a one-trick pony. He's just a vertical guy that they try to take shots to. I think the loss of Josh Gordon, and people are going to call me a Patriot hater, but listen, this is not the same team. I wouldn't pick the Patriots. The only team I would pick the Patriots to be favored over is maybe the Houston Texans, because I feel like they have their number. I feel like they know how to beat them. But you think
by the way, if the Texans win, that's who the Patriots get. Like that, the best thing the Patriots have going for them is how it fell.
Yes.
Like that 11
Absolutely.
wins was good enough for a 2 seed, which typically it's not. That the bracket fell to where I think a lot of people in the wild card round in the AFC think the Chargers and the Ravens are the most dangerous teams. One of them is going to beat the other, and unless the Texans lose to the 6-seed Colts,
they will.
It's well, that'll change things. Then Chargers, Ravens, the winner goes to New England. Like that is what the Patriots What the Patriots are hoping for is that the bracket holds, that the Texans win, and the Texans, who have lost in the playoffs to the Patriots twice, the two times they played them in the playoffs. Like, I want to give the Pats credit for what they did yesterday, because I said on TV on Friday that if the Patriots play the way they did against Buffalo, the Jets can beat them. And they didn't play like they did against Buffalo. Instead, they dominated the Jets offensively and defensively. Also give the Patriots credit for this. They are the only team in the league undefeated at home this year. That's surprising that they're the only team in the league undefeated at home, but they are. They also have some quality wins. They went to Chicago and won. They beat Kansas City in an epic game on national television. First game of the year, they beat a Texans team that before it turned into the team it is now, and they beat Indy early, both those teams when they were struggling. So all that's true. I still don't believe in this team, though. I look at the rest of the AFC, and I know what every one of those teams does great. I know what the Chiefs do great. Third highest scoring offense in football history. I know what the Ravens do great. Run the ball, defense, time, possession. I know the Chargers have what you were talking about, guys you have slide protection to. Both sides of the ball. Like guys you have to worry about on offense and Keenan Allen. Guys you got to worry about on defense and Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, not to mention Derwin James. I know what the Colts do great. It's Andrew Luck and protecting Andrew Luck. And the Texans, Nuke Hopkins is having one of the best years of any player in football, and they have a dominant pass rush.
And the Patriots?
What they do great is they're the Patriots.
Situational football.
Situational football, right. And protecting home field.
But to go along with that, that's where they've been losing games is situational football. We've been used to having them have those slumps in September where, like, okay, the defense, this is their preseason. They're getting their things together. Once they get into October, things will mesh. But when you see them lose games in Miami, having Gronk in the back, when you know the quarterback can't throw the ball 70 yards, and it's not going to be a Hail Mary, when you have a Tom Brady throwing it up for grabs and throwing an interception in Pittsburgh. Those are things that you do not see out of this New England team. Why? Because they do not still have the same confidence and swagger that they used to, where you would go up against them and you're like, oh, this is a scary moment. We're playing the Patriots.
You don't think teams still fear the Patriots?
They don't scare them
not
the same way.
Iota.
Because if you could put pressure on Tom Brady because of their offensive line and because they still have those problems in between the A and B gaps, which clearly came up in that Pittsburgh game with all the holding calls, he is not the same quarterback because he doesn't have the Wes Welkers, because he doesn't have the Randy Moss.
And Edelman doesn't look the same either.
Because those were guys, he used to close his eyes and throw the ball to him, knowing that they knew exactly where to be at the right time. He doesn't have that same type of luxury right now.
You said that you don't think teams fear him. So do they change things around? Is it going to be what we've seen the last couple of weeks, just run the ball through Sony Michel and maybe not put it all on Tom Brady?
Well, I think that's exactly what you're going to get. They're going to try to run the ball, limit the possessions, and hope that they can outsmart you, either get you with some type of trick play by Edelman throwing the ball or some double pass or the Brady special. Maybe he catches it this time. They're trying to get you to defeat yourself. They're trying to get you to beat yourself and get you in those situational moments where they can score before halftime and then get back and then score coming out of the half and hope that they can get ahead of you two games. And you look at the guys that's in their division. If they go against Lamar Jackson, you look at the young quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, do they throw you a ball? Can you trick them defensively? That's their only hope. It's kind of like Rocky IV, man, when you go in there like, man, he's a man. He's not a machine. He bleeds just like everybody. Everybody sees their mortality and understand that this window is closing, and they're trying to get. Listen, if they get to the Super Bowl, this would be the greatest, smoke and mirror show
100%
ever.
They're 9-0 when they rush the ball for 100+ yards. They're 2-5 when they don't.
Yes.
They've never had a discrepancy like that, where when you're game planning against the Patriots now, if you have not the Jets team, but a legitimate team, you can say, if we take away the run, how can they beat us? The problem with the Pats has always been you take away the run, no problem. Brady will kill you.
Exactly.
If you try to take away Brady, good luck with it. But if you can, they don't mind running the ball 40 times when they have to. This Pats team is limited. I understand they dominated the Jets yesterday.
Defense is, first of all, I'm the only one here that gets paid to have to watch the Jets, so I had to watch every play. Listen, Sam Darnold moved the ball. They just went for it on 4th down, and they didn't convert. And Tom Brady, wide open Hogan, right in the back.
Early in the game, missed him wide open.
Missed him. Tom isn't making the same throws, and I think he's starting to see the rush and hear the rush.
And why do you think they made those adjustments offensively? Because they're trying to put a Band-Aid on the hemorrhage of this defense. They need to control the time of possession. They need to keep this defense fresh and off the field because they don't have a pass rush. So being able to run the football and control it that way, that's their way of controlling the football game and not putting their defense in a bad situation where they're going to lose it for them. And that's something that you see in this adjustment and the evolution, not only when you get into December for teams like the New Orleans Saints that can lean on Alvin Kamara and Ingram, but when you have a team like the New England Patriots that don't have the receivers like the Saints have on the offensive side of the ball. That's where Sony Michel coming back healthy. That's where letting this offensive line dictate the tempo of the games comes from. Because if they don't, that's where, like we talked about, that Pittsburgh game, you're going to have holding calls, you're going to be in 3rd and longs, and that's not how this New England offense can function.
Every indicator says it's a different team. Road record, overall record, Brady's efficiency. If you want to go silly, his number of Pro Bowlers. Every indicator says this is the worst Patriots team since the year Brady was out with an ACL.
And yet?
And listen, they won 11 games. They got the 2 seed.
Tom's eating potatoes, though, and you got to think of the division that they're playing. I'm convinced that he's off the nightshades.
Okay.
He's looking mortal.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.